Elizabeth City's best variety of R&B is on WRVS 89.9. Your big bro and radio, Clay Mercer, here with you, family. Thank you so much for listening to Afternoon Delight Radio Show. And we got more music on the way, but right now, a little something special for you listeners. And if you recall, back on June 6th of 2024, the University of North Carolina Board of Governors elected then ECSU Chancellor Dr. Kerry Dixon as the brand new Chancellor of North Carolina Central University. Well, obviously, there was going to be some transitions and a lot of questions of who was going to be placed in the interim position as the new chancellor here at ECSU. Well, that question was quickly answered about 24 hours later, and I have the honor and the pleasure of welcoming the interim chancellor of Elizabeth City State University, Dr. Chancellor Edmonds, to the show here today. Chancellor Edmonds, thank you so much for spending some time with us and giving our listeners a little bit of time and get to know you a little bit better. This is wonderful. I want to bring up Monday because we had a wonderful reception here on the campus of ECSU over at Ridley Student Center. Yes. So many people from the community, a lot of the faculty and staff who were here came by, and it was just exciting. Talk about that experience and how fun that was for you.
Oh, it was such a great experience. It was so awesome to walk in the door, not into the room, just walking into the door, the foyer, and to see so many familiar faces, so many old friends, so many community partners. It was just an amazing day. You know, rain sometimes keep people away.
It does.
But it did not yesterday.
Not at all.
It was shoulder to shoulder, and I'm so grateful, so thankful to everyone that came out. And for those who couldn't make it, that sent notes to me, thank you to them as well. It will take all of us working together to move it forward.
You better believe it. Yeah.
It was a day of excitement.
I think the rain was good luck. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
That's
I'm
awesome.
going to call it a good luck day.
Yes.
So that was wonderful. And,
yes.
And it was just great again. And we talked a lot about it too. When you stepped up to the microphone, you said home, welcome home, like a homecoming.
Right. Yes.
And that's pretty much what it is. A lot of people may not understand your connection to Northeastern North Carolina, Elizabeth City. And we'll talk a little bit about it here, Bertie, and kind of your beginnings. And that's really where I want to start before we go any further. Being raised in Oxford, a small town, it's about 3 hours away from here.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about your experiences there in the small town of Oxford and how it's helped you in your career in education.
Sure. So growing up in a small town in Granville County specifically, it was such a close-knit community. Everybody helps everybody. And I heard someone say yesterday, you know, Elizabeth City State University, where everybody is somebody. Well, that's how my community was growing up. It was a village that put their arms around us. And I think about my parents and how they would reach out to the community, taking food to homes. I had folks that I went to school with, some of my friends, that stayed at our house, and my parents never complained. It was like, okay, one more, let's come on, you know. It was, what do you do to support the community? How do you provide that wraparound support? And of course, they didn't call it wraparound support, but that's exactly what it was. Everyone in the community was supportive in moving forward and making sure that you had everything you need to be able to progress and be a productive citizen and to be able to contribute. In my family, we always had to give back. Community service was huge. And you don't always have money, but you always have time. And sometimes time is tight, but you still do what you do to support the community. And so being in that small, close-knit community, that's what I feel here in Elizabeth City. I mean, my son is here, my grandchildren are here. So although I was not at the school district, I had taken another role, I was still in Elizabeth City. I was still coming back. And so this is home. You know, home is where your heart is.
Very much so.
And I got two little love bugs, and my heart is right here in Elizabeth City. So it's awesome. So for them to be able to grow up in a close-knit, tight community like the one that I grew up in, it's awesome.
You talk a lot about your parents. Talk about their influence on you and the person that you are today.
Oh, yes. You know, the one thing my dad always said, and it's drilled in my head, do not do anything that you do not give 100%. If you're not going to give 100%, then don't do it. And I tried to get a job when I got out of high school, and I was like, oh, I wasn't ready for this. And I wanted to quit. He said, absolutely not. You took it on. You will stay until it's time for you to go to college. So they taught us the value of, you know, hard work, taught us the value of always working with others, always supporting others, and always leave people better off than when you met them.
as you talk about your educational career, and obviously it started as a high school teacher in math. And so I love hearing this story whenever you tell it about algebra, because I had the same issues with algebra. I don't like math. That's why I went into English communications. It made more sense to me. Numbers, yeah. But tell us a little bit about how difficulties with algebra and then how it's become where you are right now as far as in higher education.
Sure. So I was a student who was taking Algebra 1 in the 8th grade. At the time, I didn't know that meant I was smart in math, but I struggled. And I failed Algebra 1 in the 8th grade. And what I later realized is that I was sitting in the back of the classroom and I couldn't see the board. My parents, they couldn't afford glasses, so I didn't have glasses, I couldn't see the board. But the teacher let me sit in the classroom the entire year. She never asked me a question, hey, you're taking Algebra 1 in the 8th grade, which means you've done very well to this point. What is the struggle? I would have said to her, I can't see the board. But that question was never posed to me. And my parents always said, you go to school and the teachers have your best interest at heart. If you need to move, they will move you. So I didn't ask a question. I sat in the back. I got to 9th grade. I was sitting in the front of the classroom and I would finish before everyone else. And the teacher said, you know what? You're smart in math. But what she didn't do was say, wait a minute. We need to put you back in Algebra 1. You do not need to be in Algebra 1A. So now, because I didn't do well in 8th grade, I now have to take it in 2 years. So Algebra 1A in 9th grade, Algebra 1B in 10th grade. And so what that impact that had on me was that now when I hit 10th grade and Catherine Oakley was my teacher and I was in Algebra 1B, she said, wait a minute. You are too smart to be in Algebra 1B. You're going to double up on math this year, and you're going to take as many math classes as you can. Wow. And I was like, oh, no. I'm not good in math. Not good in math. And she said, yes, you are. She believed in me when I didn't know or felt that I could believe in myself because I thought I was bad in math. And so when you have a bad experience, then you start to dislike it. But what that taught me is that student success is based on the adults that are in the schools. So we have to make sure that we have caring adults that will take the time, 10 seconds, to ask a question. And that one question could potentially change the trajectory of that child's life. But we also have to make sure that we are supporting the adults in the schools so that they're able to give that support to students. And that's what I take with me when I was in Bertie, when I was here in Elizabeth City, where I am now, is that student success is the crux of the work that we do. And what does that look like for the adults? How do we support them so that they can support the students? And how do we make sure our students that they feel and know that they matter, that they're on this campus because they matter, and that there are adults on this campus that are going to ensure their success? And so that's kind of what I take with me wherever I go.
I love it.
Because first generation college student, I mean, who would have thought? My mother said to me, before she passed a couple weeks ago, I am so proud of you. I don't know how you got here because I don't think we helped you, but we are so proud of you. And they did help me because what they instilled in me is what I take with me everywhere I go.
And condolences to you. I didn't know about that. So thank you for that story. I love hearing that. It's so inspirational. It's Afternoon Delight Radio Show. Yours truly, Clay Mercer, with the ECSU Interim Chancellor Dr. Catherine Edmonds. And you talked a lot about listening, and I think that's one of the strengths that you have. In this position, obviously, you have to make difficult decisions, but you are very good at listening, not only to the faculty and staff, but you have prioritized the student voice and listening to the students.
Yes.
In your words, why is that such a vital component to student success?
Absolutely. So when I was in the K-12 space and I had students, even elementary students, I would do student listening tours where I sat and I listened to students. Believe it or not, elementary students could tell me what they wanted. When you listen to students, and I've taken that with me, so now here on this campus, I will do the same thing. I want to hear from the students. Nothing makes you feel more important to know that someone is listening to what you have to say and that your voice is important. How can I say that you're important if I won't listen? And so that piece, you can learn so much. And then students are so free in coming to you and sharing with you What are those things that are bothering them? What are those things that are exciting them? Like, what are the things that we need to continue that are happening on this campus? But student voice to me equates to saying to students, you matter, your voice matters, and we are going to listen to you. And sometimes things don't cost money that they want. It is just using our time and our talents to make sure that whatever it is that they're saying that they need, that we can get that for them. But we do have to prioritize. So I'm not saying there's a free reign, free resources, and all of that that's here, but listening to the student voice to make sure that they know that they matter and that listening to them matters.
This Afternoon Delight Radio Show. Clay Mercer here with ECSU Interim Chancellor Dr. Catherine Edmonds. And Chancellor, back on July 22nd, 2019, it was your first day as superintendent of the Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public School System. I had to bring that up because the Board of Education at that time voted for you unanimously, with no kind of hesitations, with no kind of reservations. It was just, we want you here.
Yes.
And you've had a long career in education, but talk a little bit about that experience specifically here in Elizabeth City, becoming superintendent. That had to feel special to you.
It absolutely felt so special, very special. And to know that I had 100% of the support from the Board of Education is huge. Walking into that space, I think I got here maybe 3 or 4 weeks before school was starting. We had a lot of vacancies. So the community knowing that the school board had that level of trust and support for me, it was so beneficial to be able to move forward the mission and what we were doing in the schools. And not to mention, soon after that, COVID hit. And so once COVID hit, we had to transition very quickly, but we were already ready for that because we saw what was happening across the country. And the school board having that level of trust in me it just created a space for me to be creative and innovative and move forward with the faculty, staff, and the students, and with the community, because we did a lot of community outreach during that time as well. And so it just meant the world to me to know that the community trusted me, the school board had that trust in me, and so did the faculty and the staff and the students.
During that time in 2019, which was the last time you was here in this radio station, so again, you're a friend of this radio station.
Yes.
We did a show called Around the Town, and Dr. Hezekiah Brown was the host. And a word that came up during that interview and a word that came up during the welcome reception on Monday was collaboration. Talk a bit about why that is so important to you and how does that fit Elizabeth City State University moving forward?
Yeah, so continuing to build the strong community partnerships is important because when we look at our students and when they leave ECSU, they will be looking for jobs. So having that partnership early on so they can do internships and collaborating with the community, that sets them up for what they came to ECSU to do, which is to be gainfully employed and be able to contribute back to this community. And also collaborating with the alumni, ensuring that when we're looking at being able to provide resources for the campus, there's going to be fundraising that needs to occur. So working with our alumni to ensure that we are working on fundraising and enrollment growth will be huge. Looking at growing academic programs and the academic progress that our students are making, community partnerships are huge for that as well. And just being very intentional about our industry partnerships, like I said earlier, to ensure that our students have a pipeline to employment.
This Afternoon Delight Radio Show, yours truly, Clay Mercer, with ECSU Interim Chancellor Dr. Catherine Edmonds. And you previously held the position as Chief of Staff at North Carolina Central University, but that was not your first experience with the UNC system. Tell us a little bit about the work that you have done previously with the UNC system.
Sure. So prior to becoming a superintendent, I worked at the UNC system as the state director for the Principal Fellows Program and also the director of educational leadership and development. And so in that work, I worked with campuses across the UNC system, working with their education programs, Masters of School Administration, and their teacher prep programs. So ensuring that we had a pipeline of effective teachers and principals that would be day one ready.
Yeah, well, obviously we are in a period of transition here at Elizabeth City State University, and former ECSU Chancellor Dr. Carrie Dixon did some wonderful things during her 6-year tenure. As Chancellor, we saw an increase in enrollment as well as monetary giving to the university. Your relationship with current NCCU Chancellor Dixon started well before 2019 when you became the superintendent of ECPPS. Speak about that relationship and how much it has grown over the years.
Sure. So Dr. Dixon and I both worked at the UNC system at the same time, and that's where we met. When I was here as superintendent, when I was talking about having the teachers and principals be day one ready, we had a partnership with Elizabeth City State University and the National Center for Teacher Residency to grow and mentor teachers or aspiring teachers so they would be day one ready. And that program is actually still going on today. Nice. When I was chief of staff at NCCU, they had me speak. So it was great to see that partnership still existed and existed past my leadership. And so that we did a lot of collaboration with the K-12 space and higher ed space when I was here. And I'm sure many have seen our last interaction that was video. We talk almost daily, but the carting with the chancellor yes. and the ceremonial handing over of the keys. And so to be able to have this transition at the same time, she's going to where I'm leaving and I'm coming here, we're able to share ideas and thoughts about how to move things forward. And so it's always a fun time when we're together. And so that was the work that I did with the UNC system prior to being a superintendent.
Yeah, definitely feels like you both have a good time when you get together. In fact, there's a video right now on ECSU social media that shows you and former Chancellor Dixon riding around on a golf cart, having a good time riding on campus. So if you haven't seen that, go to the social media. You can see that video. It's really a special time right now here on the campus of ECSU and really in the community, not only because you are here as interim chancellor, but you have family here on this campus. And I know this is going to be the one where you're smiling from ear to ear to talk about your son, yes. your grandson. Talk a little bit about the family. Not only that, but when you told your son that this was a possibility, it could happen, and then it happened. Talk about that reaction, because I'd love to hear what he thought when all of this was taking place.
Oh, my goodness, that was so funny when I told my son, I'm going to be the interim chancellor. He was like, oh, Mom, that is great. Congratulations. You deserve this. This is awesome. And then I said, I'll be able to see your grades. And he was like, oh. He's like, well, I need to work on that a little bit. And so it's so funny because he has, since that announcement came out, he has been reaching out to Ms. Halfacre and visiting the campus and making sure he is ready, yes. talking to his advisor. I was like, oh, where was all of this before? Right. But he has been so on it. Matter of fact, he's on campus today visiting the lab school because that's where my oldest grandson will go. He's 4 years old. Yes, I have a 2- and 4-year-old grandson. Yes. Our future Vikings. Yes. And so they are here in Elizabeth City. So it's exciting to be back and to know that my grandchildren are here, my family's here, my son, and that he's a student here at ECSU. And I think he will be on track.
Okay.
If he knew I said that, he would probably be like, Mom, did you really have to say that? Yes. People may think I'm already on it. And he is a veteran of the Coast Guard. Mm-hmm. So coming to Elizabeth City after coming out of the Coast Guard was just a natural fit for him. Yeah. And so, yes, my family is here. And so, like I said, at the welcome reception, there is no place like home.
Yeah, it is truly a homecoming, and I could just see how excited you were when you were talking about the family. That was a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So excited to have you here, obviously, and thank you so much again for spending some time with us. I usually like to turn my microphone off and let you speak to the listeners and the community that's listening right now, and I'll let you take it away.
Well, thank you, and I would like to say thank you for inviting me to be able to share with the listeners today. And what I would like to share with the community is that I look forward to continuing the partnerships that have already been built and establishing some new partnerships as we move along the way, but also to ensure the listeners that we will continue the momentum that is here at Elizabeth City State University. We cannot let my dear friend, Chancellor Dixon, down. She has put in some hard work, and so really continuing the work that has already started, that's growing, and just continue that momentum. is what I would say, into the community. Also look forward to being out and about in the community. If you see me, please stop and say hello. Look forward to reconnecting.
Yeah. Again, Chancellor Edmonds, thank you so much for spending some time with me and the listeners here today. I look forward to bringing back our conversations with the Chancellor. I love our monthly conversations with you, and I know our listeners look forward to that. And I look forward to seeing what the future holds for you and ECSU. Again, Chancellor Edmonds, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, and family, you can go to the WRVS 89.9 YouTube channel right now to hear an extended version of this one-on-one exclusive conversation with Interim ECSU Chancellor Dr. Catherine Edmonds. Stay with us. More of the feel-good flavor you love is on the way, plus details about the CARS Vehicle Donation Program. It's all coming up here on Afternoon Delight Radio Show.